The silent arrival. The desert night was quiet, the kind of silence that felt heavy, as if the air itself was waiting. Above the endless sand, the stars stretched wide, cold and distant. A lonely wind moved across the dunes, carrying dust like whispers. Then the silence broke. High above Earth, something moved through the sky. It was not a meteor. It was not a plane. It was broken, burning, a massive ship tearing through the clouds. Pieces of its dark hull fell like fire, crashing into the desert below. The ground shook, animals ran, and for miles people saw the sudden flash of strange green light. The ship landed with a sound that rolled like thunder. Sand exploded into the air. A crater opened, deep and wide, swallowing part of the desert. And there it sat, a structure too large, too alien, half buried in the earth, glowing faintly like a dying heart. The first humans to reach it were villagers from nearby towns. They came with fear in their eyes but curiosity in their steps. The broken ship hummed softly, as if alive. Strange symbols pulsed across its surface, shifting like they were breathing. The air was thick with an energy they could not explain. Radios went dead, cell phones flickered, compasses spun wildly. By morning, soldiers surrounded the crater. Scientists in white suits followed, carrying equipment that screamed when pointed at the wreck. News spread fast, satellite images, shaky videos, frantic voices on television. Something had fallen from the stars, and it was not from Earth. The ship was alive but broken. Dr. Aisha Karim, a scientist from the Global Research Council, stood at the edge of the crater. She adjusted her glasses, her heart racing. "This is no ordinary crash," she whispered. Her instruments showed impossible readings, shifts in gravity, spikes of radiation, and a strange rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. The military commander beside her frowned. "Heartbeat? It's a machine." But Aisha shook her head. "No, not just a machine." The soldiers tried to approach. Each step closer felt heavier, like invisible hands pushing them back. Some soldiers fell to their knees, unable to breathe. The hum grew louder, echoing inside their skulls. And then one young soldier did what no one else dared. His name was Daniel Reyes. Only 22 years old, nervous, his fingers trembling as he gripped his weapon. He took a step down the crater, then another. The air around him shimmered, bending like heat waves. "Reyes, fall back," the commander barked, but Daniel kept walking. Something inside called him forward. His vision blurred. The world seemed to fade until only the ship remained. He reached out a shaking hand and touched the alien metal. The ship answered. A flash of light shot through him, bright as a supernova. His body lifted off the ground. His scream echoed across the desert. But it was not pain. It was transformation. For a moment his eyes glowed, his veins burned with silver light. Everyone froze in fear, and then it stopped. Daniel fell, breathing hard, alive but changed. His weapon was gone, turned into dust. His skin glowed faintly under the desert moonlight. He looked up at the crowd, his voice trembling. "I saw stars," he whispered. "I saw everything." The soldiers dragged him back. But whispers spread quickly. What had touched him? What had he become? That night no one slept. Scientists argued in tents, soldiers patrolled nervously, and Daniel lay in silence, his hands trembling as they glowed faintly. But the ship was not done. At midnight, the desert shook again. The alien hull opened slightly, like a wound bleeding, light. Strange mist escaped, rolling down the crater like fog. Those nearby heard voices not in their ears but in their minds. Voices of 1,000 worlds, languages unknown yet somehow understood. Aisha clutched her head, her breath uneven. "It's speaking," she gasped. The commander's radio exploded with static, then went dead. Soldiers fired warning shots at the glowing mist, but the bullets vanished in midair, dissolving into sparks. Something ancient had awoken. By dawn, the world was no longer the same. Satellite feeds showed energy spikes across the desert. News. Anchors whispered of alien invasion. Leaders across the world panicked in secret meetings. But the truth was stranger. The ship was not invading. It was choosing. Daniel, the young soldier who touched it, woke from his restless sleep with burning eyes. His reflection in the mirror was not the same. His pupils glowed faintly like stars. His body felt stronger, his mind filled with flashes of strange symbols, maps of the universe, and the memory of wars not fought by humans. He whispered to himself, his voice trembling. "It's inside me." And as the sun rose over the desert, the broken ship pulsed again, sending waves into the sky, waves strong enough to travel across the stars. Somewhere in the deep universe, alien empires felt it. Their ancient enemy, thought to be lost, had awoken again. But this time it was not alone. It had touched humanity. The desert wind carried silence once more. But this silence was different. It was the silence before a storm, the silence of something far greater waiting to break. And Earth, without knowing, had just taken its first step into becoming a universe killer. The transformation. The desert was never quiet again. For days, soldiers and scientists stayed around the broken alien ship, trying to understand it. But every hour, strange things happened. Metal equipment bent out of shape without being touched. Lights flickered even when there was no power. Some soldiers said they heard voices calling their names at night. Others dreamed of stars exploding, of giant ships burning in battle. And then there was Daniel. The young soldier who touched the ship was no longer the same. His body was stronger. He could run faster, hear farther, and even see in the dark. His skin sometimes shimmered faintly as if light lived beneath it. But the most frightening change was in his mind. He knew things no human should know, symbols, coordinates, even star maps. When scientists showed him pictures of galaxies, he named them without hesitation, even though he had never studied astronomy. Dr. Aisha watched him carefully. "It is inside him now," she whispered. "The ship is not just metal. It is alive. And it has chosen him." The military commander did not like this. "He's dangerous. If one soldier can become whatever he is, then what happens if the ship changes more?" But it was already too late. One night, a group of soldiers were ordered to move closer to the wreck. The crater glowed softly like a breathing giant. The men hesitated, but orders were orders. As they stepped near the alien metal, something in the air shifted. A pulse rippled outward. The soldiers dropped their weapons, clutching their heads, as light crawled across their skin. When it was over, 5 of them lay on the ground, shaking. Their eyes glowed faintly, just like Daniel's. The transformation had spread. Panic broke out in the camp. Some soldiers tried to run, but the mist from the ship followed them, curling like smoke, sinking into their bodies. Within hours, dozens were changing. Their voices deepened, their veins lit with strange energy, and their minds filled with visions of distant stars. Scientists were torn between fear and wonder. Some believed this was evolution, a gift from the stars. Others screamed it was infection, the end of humanity. Daniel stood among the newly transformed, his voice calm but filled with something greater. "The ship is not here to destroy us. It wants us to rise. It is giving us its power." But not everyone agreed. One soldier, burning with energy he could not control, screamed as light exploded from his hands. The blast struck a row of armored vehicles, tearing them apart in an instant. The explosion was like thunder, shaking the desert for miles. Men and women ran in terror as fire consumed the camp. When the dust cleared, the soldier who caused it stood in shock. "I didn't mean to," he whispered, his hands glowing like suns. "It just happened." Fear spread faster than fire. The military saw them as weapons too dangerous to exist. Orders came from world leaders. If the ship cannot be contained, it must be destroyed. Missiles were prepared. Drones circled the desert. The order was clear: eliminate the threat. But the ship responded first. The moment the first missile was launched, the alien hull glowed bright. A shield of pure energy spread from its surface, covering the entire crater. The missile hit the shield and vanished into sparks. The ship's heartbeat grew louder, echoing in every human chest nearby, and then came the signal. The ship sent out a wave of light, invisible to human eyes but powerful enough to travel across galaxies. Every starship, every alien listening post, every empire that once fought against this ship felt it. The lost enemy had awakened, and this time, it had bonded with a new species, humans. On Earth, Daniel felt it too. He collapsed, visions rushing. Through his mind, giant fleets of alien warships, countless planets burning, and a war older than human civilization. His body shook violently, but when he opened his eyes, his voice was calm. They are coming. The scientists froze. Who? The ones who built the war that destroyed this ship? Daniel whispered. They will not allow humans to hold this power. They are already on their way. Silence gripped the camp. Aisha looked at him with fear and awe. How long do we have? Daniel's eyes glowed brighter like stars burning inside him. His answer was heavy. Not long. The universe is already moving against us. The desert wind howled through the crater. Soldiers stood in silence, torn between duty and terror. The world outside watched through screens, not yet understanding that Earth had crossed a line it could never return from. For centuries, humanity had looked up at the stars with wonder. But now, the stars were looking back with fear. And in that moment, Earth realized the truth. The broken alien ship had not crashed here by accident. It had landed with purpose. It had chosen humanity. But the gift came with a price. The transformation had only just begun. The universe answers. Far. Beyond Earth, in the cold dark sea of stars, the signal spread. It raced faster than light across nebula clouds and dead suns, through the ruins of old battles and forgotten stations. Wherever it reached, silence broke. Ancient machines lit up. Hidden satellites stirred awake. Empires long at war paused their fighting, their commanders turning pale. The signal was not unknown. It was a ghost. The broken ship that crashed on. Earth had once belonged to a weapon feared across galaxies. It was called by many names: the Devourer, the Unmaker, the Silent Warship. To some it was legend, to others nightmare. For thousands of years, alien civilizations believed it destroyed, lost forever. But now the pulse was back, and worse, it carried something new. A human signature. Across the Andrel Dominion, a council of insectoid warlords screamed in panic. Their antennae twitched as they saw the data. The humans are merging with it. They are rewriting themselves. In the halls of the crystalline Zarin collective, their leaders shivered as the signal reached them, their bodies of pure light dimmed. The warship lives again. If humanity bonds with it, they will surpass us all. Even the iron giants of the core empire, machines who feared nothing, hesitated. Their steel commanders replayed the signal again and again, hearing the strange rhythm of a heartbeat mixed with human voices. One of them growled through static. The cycle begins again. We must crush them before they awaken fully. Across the galaxy, a decision was made. Earth would not be left alone. Fleets began to move. Back on Earth, the world was already tearing apart in fear. Governments argued, blaming each other. Some wanted to use nuclear weapons on the alien wreck, before it grew stronger. Others wanted to study it to keep the gift for themselves. Ordinary people panicked. Some prayed, some rioted, some watched the desert on screens with wide, terrified eyes. But inside the crater, the transformed. Humans were changing faster. Daniel woke each day with new strength. He could hear sounds miles away, like whispers on the wind. His hands could bend steel with little effort. He was not the only one. Those touched by the ship began to form a group, connected by strange dreams and voices that guided them. They called themselves the Chosen, though they had not chosen anything. The ship had chosen them. Dr. Aisha tried to calm them, to study them, but she knew the truth. They were no longer fully human. Their DNA carried codes from the ship, rewriting them slowly into something else. She watched Daniel lift a massive truck with one hand and set it down gently as if it weighed nothing. Her voice shook. You are becoming weapons. Daniel shook his head. Not weapons. Defenders. The ship is not here to kill us, it is warning us. That warning came sooner than anyone expected. 3 nights later, satellites in Earth's orbit picked up something impossible. Dozens of unknown objects entered the solar system, moving faster than any human craft. At first, the world thought they were meteors. Then the signals came. Alien frequencies, ancient languages, war codes never seen before. The aliens had arrived. In the skies above, black shapes glided into view, massive warships, each the size of cities, glowing with alien fire. They blocked out the stars. Humanity had never seen anything like them. Panic swept through Earth's cities. Crowds screamed. Planes fell from the sky as the alien ships disrupted electronics. The first attack was not on a city. It was on the desert crater. Beams of pure energy rained down, striking the shield that surrounded the wreck. The ground shook as explosions ripped through the sand. Soldiers fired missiles in desperation, but they bounced off the alien hulls like raindrops. Inside the crater, Daniel and the others fell to their knees, clutching their heads. The ship's heartbeat thundered in their skulls. Their eyes glowed brighter, their skin burned with alien symbols. The ship was fusing deeper into them, forcing them to awaken. Dr. Aisha screamed over the chaos. They know! They're here to kill us before the transformation is complete. Daniel rose slowly, his face pale but determined. He looked at the alien sky above, at the fleets descending like vultures. His voice was calm, but heavy with something not human. They are afraid of us, one soldier shouted at him. Afraid? Look at their ships, they're gods compared to us. Daniel shook his head, his glowing eyes fixed on the stars. No, they have seen what we can become, and that terrifies them more than anything else. Another blast shook the crater, the shield flickering. The aliens were breaking through. If they succeeded, the ship would be destroyed, and the humans who had bonded with it would die with it. Daniel clenched his fists, his veins glowing like rivers of fire. The others joined him, their bodies trembling with new strength. The ship's pulse matched their heartbeats, binding them as one. The universe had sent its fleets. But humanity was no longer just human. And for the first time, Earth's story was no longer small. The war of the universe had arrived at their doorstep. The question was no longer if they would survive. The question was, what would they become? The human awakening. The desert sky burned with light. Alien warships hovered above, their massive shadows stretching across the sand like storm clouds. The shield around the crater flickered under the constant rain of fire. Every blast shook the ground, every strike sent cracks crawling across the invisible barrier. It was only a matter of time before it failed. Inside the crater, chaos reigned. Soldiers scrambled to retreat, radios screamed with broken signals, and scientists packed up equipment that no longer worked. But in the center of it all, Daniel stood tall, his glowing eyes fixed on the sky. The others, the transformed humans, stood beside him, trembling as if something inside them was ready to explode. The ship pulsed again. This time the light did not stay on its surface. It flowed outward, streaming into the bodies of those it had chosen. Daniel gasped as the energy surged through him, his veins glowing like molten silver. The others screamed, falling to their knees as their bones cracked, muscles shifted, and their senses expanded beyond human limits. Dr. Aisha watched in awe and horror. It's finishing what it started, she whispered. It's rewriting them completely. The commander, his face pale with fear, shouted, They're not human anymore, we have to stop this. But before he could act, Daniel rose from the ground. His body hovered above the crater, surrounded by a halo of light. His voice carried across the desert, calm but filled with something ancient. We are still human, but now we are more. The shield shattered. Alien beams rained down on the crater. The ground split apart, fire and dust exploding into the air. Soldiers screamed, expecting death. But then, something impossible happened. The transformed humans lifted their hands, and the beams bent in the air, twisting away like rivers redirected by unseen dams. The blasts struck the sky, tearing holes through clouds instead of flesh. The aliens fired again, harder, stronger, but the humans were ready. One soldier, now transformed, stretched his arms wide, and a barrier of pure energy formed above the camp. Another struck the ground with his fist, sending shockwaves of force that knocked drones from the sky. A woman lifted her gaze, her eyes blazing with light, and the alien targeting system shut down as if her stare alone broke them. Daniel floated higher, his body glowing brighter, until he was face to face with the alien fleet. He raised his hand, and the air itself bent. Gravity twisted, dragging one of the massive warships downward. The alien vessel struggled, engines flaring, but the pull was too strong. With a deafening roar, it slammed into the desert miles away, exploding in a wave of fire that lit the horizon. The world watched in shock. Across televisions, radios, and broken streams, humanity saw something it had never imagined. Ordinary men and women chosen by a broken alien ship, standing against the greatest war machines the universe had to offer. Dr. Aisha could not look away. "They're evolving right in front of us," she whispered. "The ship is teaching them, guiding them. It's unlocking them." But Daniel's face was not filled with pride. It was filled with something heavier, fear. He could feel it deep inside. The power was endless, yes, but it was not free. Every surge of energy burned through his veins, threatening to consume him from within. He wondered if the others felt the same, if they too carried the risk of being lost to the ship's will. Above, the alien fleet regrouped. Thousands of smaller fighters swarmed forward, their sleek wings cutting across the atmosphere like knives. Beams of energy streaked toward Earth again, hammering against the humans' defenses. The ground quaked. Cities far away shook under the tremors. And then the transformed humans answered as one. Daniel roared, his voice echoing like thunder. His allies rose beside him, their bodies glowing brighter than fire. Together, they unleashed their power. Bolts of energy tore through the sky. Waves of force shattered alien fighters like glass. Gravity bent and broke, ripping apart ships that once thought themselves untouchable. For the first time in history, humanity was not running, not hiding, not watching helplessly. Humanity was fighting back and winning, but victory came with a cost. One of the transformed, a soldier named Harris, pushed his power too far. Flames erupted from his body as he tore through 3 alien ships in a single strike. But when he landed, he collapsed, his skin burned, his breath shallow. His eyes dimmed, the glow fading. Aisha ran to him, her hands shaking. "He's dying," she whispered. "The energy is eating him alive." Daniel landed beside her, his face hard. "The power demands sacrifice. If we do not control it, it will destroy us as easily as it destroys them." The alien fleet pulled back for a moment, circling the edges of Earth's atmosphere like predators testing their prey. But their message was clear. They would not stop. They would return stronger, with more fleets, with more fire. Daniel looked up at the stars, his jaw clenched. The ship's voice echoed inside his head, a whisper in a language he should not have understood, yet somehow did. "You are not finished. You are only beginning." He turned to the others, their glowing eyes reflecting the fire in the sky. "This is no longer about survival. This is about destiny. The universe fears us, and now it will know us." The desert was silent again, but it was not peace. It was the silence before the storm, the silence of something greater being born. Humanity was awakening, and the universe would never be the same. The universe killer, the night sky above Earth, had changed. Where once there had been stars, now there were shadows. Shadows of alien warships, countless in number, spread across the heavens like a storm. The fleets had come from dozens of empires, united in fear of one small planet. Earth, the world watched in silence. Billions sat in their homes, their cities trembling under the thunder of alien engines. Leaders hid in bunkers, praying their last orders would mean something. But in the desert, at the heart of the crater, humanity's fate rested in the hands of those who were no longer only human. Daniel stood among the transformed, his body glowing with light that pulsed in rhythm with the alien ship. His eyes reflected the fire of the enemy above, but his voice was steady. "They are here to end us," he said, his tone calm, like someone speaking a truth carved into stone. "But we are no longer prey. We are the storm they fear." The ship answered his words with a pulse so powerful that the ground split open. From its broken hull, fragments of alien metal rose into the air, swirling around the transformed humans. The fragments fused into armor, wrapping their bodies in living steel. The air shook as their powers intensified, no longer unstable but controlled. Perfect. Dr. Aisha stared in disbelief. "It is not just changing you, it is preparing you for war." Above, the fleets moved. Thousands of fighters broke away, raining down fire. Massive carriers aimed their cannons, ready to burn Earth into ash. The alien commanders had no fear of humanity, but of what humanity was becoming, and so the final battle began. Daniel launched into the sky, faster than sound, his fists glowing with energy that could tear apart steel. Around him, his allies rose. Men and women who only days ago were ordinary soldiers, now burning brighter than stars. Together they met the alien swarm head-on. The sky turned into fire. Daniel struck first. He tore through a fighter with one blow, his hand slicing through its hull like paper. Another ship fired at him, but he raised his arm and the beam bent away, curving harmlessly into the void. Behind him, Harris, barely alive after his last outburst, roared and unleashed a storm of fire, wiping out entire squadrons before collapsing into the arms of another transformed. Everywhere, humans fought like gods. One controlled gravity, pulling ships into each other until they exploded in burning light. Another raised walls of energy to shield cities from falling debris. A woman screamed and her voice shattered glass across continents, tearing apart alien fighters that strayed too close. But the aliens were endless. For every ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. Earth's skies burned, oceans boiled under falling wreckage, and cities shook as fragments rained down. Humanity's awakening was powerful, but still young. Daniel pushed higher, into the heart of the enemy fleet. He could hear the whispers of the ship guiding him, voices of civilizations long gone. His body burned with their knowledge, his mind filled with their rage. He saw flashes of their war, the one that had destroyed this very ship long ago. And he realized the truth. "This is why they fear us," he whispered. "Because we are not just inheriting the ship's power, we are becoming something new." He stretched his arms wide and light burst from him, a wave so bright that it blinded the alien commanders watching from orbit. Entire squadrons dissolved into dust. Carriers buckled, breaking apart as if crushed by invisible hands. The pulse spread across the fleet, shaking ships that had never known defeat. On Earth, people fell to their knees, not in fear, but in awe. For the first time, they were not watching destruction. They were watching victory. But Daniel knew the cost. Every surge of power tore through his body, threatening to consume him. He could feel his humanity slipping away, replaced by something vast, something infinite. He looked down at Earth one last time, at the tiny planet that had given him birth, and whispered, "This is for you." The ship's core opened within the crater. A beam of energy erupted from Earth, connecting Daniel to the heart of the alien wreck. His body glowed brighter and brighter until he was no longer just a man, but a star in human form. The aliens panicked. For the first time, they broke formation. Orders clashed across their fleets, fear spreading faster than light. Some fled, some fought harder, but all knew what was coming. Daniel released everything. The beam of energy became a storm, a wave that spread across the sky, swallowing ships by the thousands. Entire armadas vanished in silence, their ashes falling like sparks into the void. Alien commanders screamed in despair, their centuries of dominance erased in seconds. The fleets broke, retreating in terror, fleeing from the planet they once saw as weak. And then silence. The skies cleared. Earth was scarred, but alive. Cities still stood. Billions still breathed. And above them, Daniel floated, a glowing figure, surrounded by burning fragments of defeated ships. But he was no longer Daniel Reyes, the young soldier. He was something else now, something the universe would never forget. The humans who remained looked at him in awe and fear. Some whispered, "Savior." Others whispered, "Monster." But one truth echoed across the stars. Humanity had become the thing the universe feared most. A universe killer. Daniel looked down, his eyes glowing like suns. For a moment he felt peace. But then the whispers came again. From the ship. From the stars. From the endless dark. This is only the beginning. He closed his eyes, knowing what that meant. The aliens would return. Others would rise. The war had only begun. But humanity was no longer helpless. Humanity had awakened, and the universe would never look at Earth the same way again.